welcome everybody to the One to Go show. It is Puka, once again joined by Ryan Aho and Bert Lehman. You can find us all on Facebook at Ryan Aho, at Bert Lehman, and at Racer Puka. Another action-packed week of racing. We're going to jump right into
One to Go show. At the One to Go show. Come on, now,
most of you are watching us at the. Well, I'm kind of assuming everyone's kind of watching us there. And of course, you podcasters, like we said last week, we're on Facebook for the show. We do show some highlights. So if you can't grab us on Facebook, if you're not on Facebook, you can jump over to the YouTube channel. And we also fired up a TikTok account over the weekend. And our first video, guys, like 11,000 views. So on the TikTok. So we're right in there with the 9 and 10-year-olds. Huge following. So, Ryan, we'll have you start us off tonight. Jump right into things.
Man, Mother Nature kind of won. There was a few races kind of rained out, kind of got knocked out of it. But, I want to give a shout-out. Joe Thomas, son of Corky Thomas, a legend. All you guys out western Minnesota, up by Fargo, you guys all know Corky, class clown. I remember Corky, guys, pulling in invitationals with a flatbed trailer, right? And he had a hot tub on it for 2 days events. And after the races got done, like, everybody's getting in and out of a hot tub drinking beer. So, like, everybody liked Corky, right? Because that's where the party was. But Joe Thomas got his first win at I-94. Guys, that's a tough place to win for a modified. Hats off to him. Ryan Michelson, another guy, young guy, he's won some races in B mods. He's won in A mods, jumped in the late model. I think he may have won before, maybe in biking. But he won the late models over there. And a shout out to my buddy, the coach. Puka, you're a hockey guy. Yeah. You're a hockey guy. Coach Kraus, he knocked him down in the super stocks, got his first win of the year in the 29 star. So hats off to them guys. Now, did you watch that, Puka? I think you mentioned you watched for sure the late model feature there. I-94, of course, opening up. Don Shaw, they opened up a couple weeks ago. Don Shaw taking control of that place. What was your thoughts on I-94?
Well, it reminded me a lot of, we've been talking about track conditions a little bit. And Bert, it was kind of like Eldora, pretty dry, but it had a cushion. So, yeah, like I said, I watched a little bit of the mods. Yeah, it was pretty good racing. And I watched the late model feature that Ryan Michelson pulling it off. Moss came to up to second from sixth. And Schill, he started at like 10th and got third. So, yeah, I thought the racing was pretty impressive. I know from the interview, Ryan, you did a great interview. For those of you might have seen it, or if you haven't, search Ryan on Dirt Race Central. Did a great interview with Don Shaw, and he said he put up some big billboards. I didn't realize there's a lake, and that track is set up a little different, where that sun is definitely shining in your eyes. Plus, there's that lake band there, boy. And he talked about that reflection. You tell me. those billboards, I'm assuming, must really help. Yeah,
they do. I've been to tracks where you're going right down the straightaway, and if it's even in Hibbing, and Hibbing's not a big track, you roll through 3 in Hibbing, and then at the right time, the sun would be blinding you. And drivers, half the guys out there that I race against had a hard enough time kind of keeping it straight as it is. But then if you kind of go like this, they're really in trouble, right? So, and that's where a racer taking over is so good, because he raced there. He understands, hey, this is an issue. Let's fix this, because it's just going to make for a better program. So there's a prime example. Probably the first big thing that Don Shaw has done of many to come at the I-94 Speedway. Another thing that happened, Grand Forks, River City Speedway, Lance Schill, his first career late model win. He's won a ton of races in the Midwest Mods, but his first career late model win against, a stout group of cars. You got Brad Singh, you got Dustin Strand, Joey Peterson, you got some great guys. And the Canada guys aren't even able to come down. So you got no Balkan, right? You got some of them guys, Eddington, they're not able to come down yet. Hats off to Lance Schill. Gondik Law Speedway. Travis Budaslavich, first person in the late models there to double up. He got his second feature win of the year up there in Superior. A little bit of controversy there. A little controversy on the start. Prochnow got to the inside on the start, made it 3 wide getting into 1. And you got Steve Larson in the middle. I don't remember who was on the outside. They came into 1. Contacts made. Larson goes spinning around in the circle. Guys, from what I understand, there was like a several-minute debate on like who's going to the back here. The call ended up going on the 68 of Prochnow. Larson got his spot back. Did you guys get a chance to see that video on Facebook? They had that up there.
Go ahead, Bert. Did you see that?
I did see the video, and it's incidents like that where I do not want to be a track official, because, how many times I watched that video, probably 7 or 8 times, and I could still go either way on that. And for a track official to have to make that call in a split second, that's whose fault that is. That's a difficult thing to do. You know, it was just one of those racing deals. You could put, like I said, you could go either way on that one, and it's just a racing incident to me.
Well, Ryan, you're the racer here. Like I said, you speak for millions of racers every week. I mean, Larson knew he was there, didn't he? Why didn't Larson just go to the middle?
Well, you got to remember, Steve's getting a little older. You know, he can't see quite as good. You know, Bert's exactly right, guys. That was absolutely a racing deal, and that call's really easy to make. And let me tell you why. Okay, so obviously Prochnow was ahead of him at one point there, right? So you could have called it either way. But if it's a questionable call, you don't call it on Steve Larson. You know, Tom Nesbitt's gone. He's the new Tom Nesbitt. You got Steve Larson, and I don't know if Slammer was there, but Slammer, Steve Eggersdorf, was his main pit guy all last year, right? Now, Slammer in Hibbing, when he got a bad call on Labor Day one year, had a official on his car trying to pull the mag wire, and he gave the official a ride around the racetrack on the hood of his car. Steve Larson can be kind of grumpy. I love the guy. I get along with both them guys great, but Steve can be a little grumpy. So if there's a questionable call, you call that on Prochnow, right? Because you call that on Larson, you might get beat up afterwards. So I think that might have played into it a little bit.
What about a total restart in that situation? No goal?
Well, let me tell you about a total restart. Talking about Nesbitt, we go down to Casson for a Challenge Series show back in 02, 03, and I wasn't running that great. I wasn't very good in the late model. I won a few, but I wasn't the top guy. I think I was about 8th, and Nesbitt was a couple spots ahead of me. A couple guys, I don't remember who they were.
Larson was one of them. Larson was one of them.
There you go. Yeah. They get together, and next thing you know, the yellow comes out. Similar deal. They can't decide who to call it on. They give them both their spot back. Nesbitt stops his car literally on the front straightaway, calls the official over. He goes, somebody's got to go to the frickin' back of the pack. You can't penalize everybody behind them. Either put them both to the back or put one of them to the back. And they're like, nope, they're getting their spot back. And he says, bull crap, I'm sitting. Nesbitt literally sat there in the front straightaway. And they literally were just arguing back and forth and going, what in the world is going on here, right? And the tow truck guy comes out on the racetrack, and they're like, hook him up. Nesbitt gets out. He pushes the tow truck guy on the ground. Finally, they kick him off the track. It was just well, needless to say, somebody did go to the back on that one. It ended up being Nesbitt, who had nothing to do with it. So as a racer, as a fan, somebody has to go to the back. If they can't decide who it is, they both got to go to the back. You can't give both people their spot back.
All righty. Does that wrap up for you, Ryan?
No, I guess another thing, Lucas Oil, touch on a couple of the bigger things that happened, very briefly. Lucas Oil, did you guys watch the Clash at the Meg? Jimmy Owens, we called him out, guys, early, off to a hot streak again, won the 100-lapper. They're kind of an uneventful 100-lapper, but that win puts him solid in the point lead right now, ahead of, actually, he is ahead of T-Mac in second and Davenport in third. And, do you guys get to watch that race at all?
Go ahead, Bert.
Yeah, I did watch that race during my lunch hour today. And, hey, I got to do something while I'm eating. And it was actually more exciting than what I thought it was, because I knew Owens had started on the front row, and I knew that he won. But through the first part of the race anyway, there was some good racing action. At the end, you could tell that the track, was becoming more of a one-lane track. But Owens is definitely back on a hot streak, and he could be. It's been a while since he's won a championship in that series, so who knows?
My comments are great crowd. You could see that. It's unfortunate on that final night on Saturday night the track locked down, because there were 3 leaders at one point. Owens led, then Herb led, then Clanton led, and then Owens got him back on a restart. So it's kind of unfortunate the track did, lock down. But I think, like I said this a couple episodes ago, I think you're starting to see the distance. Those 3 drivers, Owens, T-Mac, Davenport, those are the 3 guys that are going to be in contention for the title this year.
And I said Overton was going to be one of them, but turns out I don't think he's following either point series. He's kind of picking and choosing. And before we get into the world of outlaw stuff, because there's some pretty neat things there, Bert, you actually went to the races this past week. I was gonna, but I'll let you recap. You went to the Clash of the Creek, and why don't you talk about the Dirt Kings too?
Yep, last week, Wednesday and Thursday, I went to the Clash at the Creek. The heat races for the modifieds were on Wednesday, and the way they do it is the modified drive. They had 76 mods there, which is a good showing. When I first got there, I thought the number of out of town drivers was down, but now I didn't do an actual count, but there was a strong contingent of out of state drivers actually. And what really surprised me was there was more than 5 drivers that were from Arizona and California. And but I spoke with several of them, and there's just not much racing going on in California and in the western states. So if they want to race, they have to come to the Midwest. A couple of the mod drivers I spoke to, they were in Iowa the week prior, so they just drove up to Wisconsin to race in this event. One of the California drivers said he's staying in Iowa for the summer and he's racing. What really surprised me was there were two sport mod drivers from Montana there, and 2 sport mod drivers from Arizona there. Now, that's a long haul to be racing. The sport mods, they had complete shows on Wednesday and Thursday with $1,000 a win. $1,000 a win is good for that division, but to travel from halfway across the country for that, I was surprised to see it, but I was happy to see it. But getting to the results, Ricky Thornton Jr. Made it 3 in a row, and he started he started on the pole. There was a little bit of controversy because, as I stated, the modified drivers, they race 2 heats on Wednesday night, and then they get passing points based on those 2 heats. And then the top 10 in passing points qualify for the feature the next night. And then the rest of the drivers have to qualify through their B mains in a last chance race. Previous years, it's always been, they start the top 10 straight up by points. So if you had the most passing points, you started on the pole, second most on the outside front row. Well, this year, apparently they decided to have a redraw for the top 10. And apparently none of the drivers knew about that until after or during tech process after the first night of racing. I guess Ricky Thornton Jr. was pretty vocal about it on Thursday afternoon. He must have been tweeting or something, because somebody told me that Thornton was not happy. And Thornton was supposed to start on the outside of the front row if you go by passing points, and he wound up pulling the pole. So he was actually lucky. Terry Phillips should have started on the pole based on passing points, and he drew number 4. I spoke with Phillips right before the feature, and since he was starting 4th, he wasn't too upset at that time. But then when the race actually took place, the track locked down pretty much within the first 10 laps. And afterwards, Terry Phillips was a little aggravated. That was the word he used. He said that they better not do passing points next year, otherwise I may have to find something else to do. So he wasn't happy. It was interesting because when I interviewed Thornton after, in Victory Lane, I asked him if he was going to try to make it 4 in a row, and he hesitated for a bit, and he goes, "Yeah, I'll probably be here." And I also found it interesting. It's tradition, if you win that race, there's a pond right next to Victory Lane inside the infield. It's tradition that the winning driver jump in the pond. He didn't jump in the pond this year. He did the last 2 years, but not this year. So I don't know if that was like a little bit of a protest for the draw. I did talk to Toby Cruz, who's co-promoter there at 141, and he said that, drivers have to also remember that, tracks are in the entertainment business, so they have to have a good show for the crowd. I can understand that point of view, but when you have a track that you can't pass on, it's tough to make the top 10 redraw their position. So But some other notes from the race, and you'll notice I'm looking at my notes and I got my glasses on, showing my age. I did talk to Ricky Thornton Jr. A few times during the week, and he said that he plans on racing a late model probably 10 to 15 more times this year. And one of those times is scheduled to be the USA Nationals. So I was happy to hear that.
Nice.
And what was also interesting about Ricky Thornton is he was there by himself. He had no pit crew. I mean, after the race, the photographer actually asked him, "Do you want a picture with your pit crew?" He goes, "I'm here by myself." So, I mean, it's just amazing, you know, and he just had a pickup truck and a single trailer, you know, nothing, no big toter home or anything like that. So, you know, he's really a down-to-earth guy and somebody that you can really talk to. As I stated, 76 mods. I do want to mention a couple of things that were unfortunate. I won't mention the drivers' names because of what happened, and I didn't write down their names anyway, so I couldn't mention them if I wanted to. But there was a driver from Nevada in his first heat race. He hit the wall in turn one on the first lap, and he was done for that race. Second heat race he raced in, he clipped an infield tire and broke a tie rod, so that ended his second heat race. So that's a long way to drive and not finish either heat race. And then there was a driver from Nebraska who, in his first heat race on the parade lap, his tire fell off. One of his tires fell off. So I would imagine he had he talked to his pit crew afterwards. I know
if you would have had Thornton's pit crew, who could he yell at?
that was one thing when I was on MJ's crew. That was always my responsibility, was to take the torque wrench and double check the lug nuts before he went out there. So yeah, that was always my biggest fear, was a tire coming off. But yeah, that's the Clash at the Creek. I mean, over the final night, the racing was really good until the feature. And, you know, the track, in defense of the track, they did put a bunch of water on it on Thursday during the day. And I think they dug it up a little bit because it you know, it looked like it was a little bit muddier. But when you put that many laps on, it's tough. And also in defense of the track, you know, normally they open in mid-April, and they didn't have their first race until the first weekend of June. So, you know, they didn't have a lot of time to get to know the track, you know, how it would react and that sort of thing this year. So, I mean, overall, it was a good show. But, you know, you can't go to a race if there's not controversy.
Ryan,
and then
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, Ryan, thoughts on that changing the lineup procedures? You must have some opinions on that.
Well, here's the deal. So Bert's exactly right when the promoter said, "Hey, we're in the entertainment business," and he's exactly right. Bert is not usually the person to kind of call anybody out, right? So the track being not racy, I don't know. I would never want to be a track prep guy because that job sucks. But I would rather err on the side of making it a little too wet, maybe farm it before the feature or something, you know, rather than just have rubber is the worst thing in the world because it's always one lane. So you got to do something, especially on a big show. I get it. It's a weekday. I get it. But let's be honest, right? So they didn't tell anybody they were doing the redraw. You look at that front row, you got Terry Phillips, you have Ricky Thornton Jr. That's your front row. Whether the track's good or not good or whatever, that's not going to – I mean, I honestly look at that. Them are two talented drivers. That might have been entertaining. The promoter maybe overthought that and said, you know what, after seeing that, let's see if maybe these guys can start a little deeper and come through the field. And it just didn't work out because, like you said, the 20RT drew the 1, and that put him on the pole. And I'm actually friends with him on Facebook. I didn't talk to him. Friends with his brother, too. And Jeremy actually put a post on there, said if he would have started 6th or further back, there's no way he would have won that race because there was no passing. Like you said, it locked down. So it is what it is. It's good to get the mod show. I mean, you're not always going to have – it's a dirt track. So, you know, I've seen some good ones. I've seen some bad ones. It is what it is. But needless to say, 3 in a row for the 20 RT, and excited to see him jumping into a late model at the USA Nationals. So back to you.
And Ryan, get your opinion on this. Now, I talked to Mike Mullen, who's won that race 2 times. He's from Seymour, Wisconsin, and he was supposed to start. He was supposed to start 4th, but he wound up starting on the outside of the front row. But anyway, when I spoke to him and I asked him about the redraw, he said the format with 2 heat races where you have passing points is designed where a draw does not determine the outcome of a race. And that's why he felt that a redraw was not the correct thing to do.
Yeah, because didn't they invert the finishing order from heat 1, and that's how they lined up heat 2?
Yeah.
And
so
then they took the overall passing point. So you're exactly right. I mean, the winner had to start last in the next heat. So yeah, he's exactly right on the money. That was the entertainment value for the Wednesday show, for the qualifying, is you got to see the good guys have to come through the pack on the second heat race, and they earn their spot. And as a racer, as somebody that competed for wins and raced to win, when you earn your way in through that passing point format, and then they throw another wrinkle in it and say, well, I know you earned your way in, we made you work for it, we had passing points, but now we're going to make you redraw again. That's kind of, I mean, I can see where some of them guys said they better figure out what they're doing next year. They ain't coming back. And, you know, as a driver, you know, if there's other options that weekend, it'd be pretty easy for them to say, you know what, heck with that deal. There was too much drama last year. We're going this way. You know, if there's not much else going on, they're still going to go racing because there's still 10 grand to win. So they're still going to be there. But they better hope up there at 141 that there's not some other options that week, because after that deal, some of them drivers might take it.
And I mean, and Terry Phillips, you know, he was lucky in his heat races because based on his draw, he had to start in the back of his first heat race. But in that heat race, it was racy. So he was able to race the second. And then in his second heat race, and the track was locked down at that point, he started on the pole, so he won. So that really helped him. But, I mean, you were talking about, you know, some drivers may not come back next year. You know, I talked to Phillips before the feature, and, you know, he said he enjoys coming up the 141 Speedway. And as you remember, he won $10,000 at the Masters in a USMTS show. And he said that he dropped off the tour for that week to race at 141 because this year USMTS had races scheduled against the Clash at the Creek. So, you know, yeah, if there's other options for drivers, you know, you never know what will happen. So
speaking of that, Bert, does USMTS have throwaway shows? I mean, if he dropped off the tour for that week, does that knock him out of the points altogether, or?
I don't know for sure. I mean, I asked him about points, and he said that he wasn't doing that great in points. But then after his week at Cedar Lake, you know, he was back in it a little bit. So I'm thinking that they do get to throw some shows out, but I'm not positive on that.
We'll have to check into that. And I was going to go to the Dirt Kings race, Bert, on Sunday, and I just opted not to. I went and played golf instead, and I watched the races from Casino Speedway online instead. So talk about the Dirt Kings. I know you have some news there.
Yeah, they raced at Wilmot Speedway in southern Wisconsin. Mitch McGrath won the feature. Second place was Justin Ritchie. I spoke about Justin Ritchie as a driver to watch on last week's show. Justin Reed, he finished third. He's a driver from Illinois who actually races for a car owner from Shawano, Wisconsin. And they had 23 late models, but there was at least one notable driver that was not there, and that is the two-time champion, Nick Advelink. I mean, I haven't spoken with Nick. I don't know why he was there, but like I was texting with you last night, you know, this race wasn't originally on the schedule. And I mean, based on the COVID, you know, the schedules have to be fluid this year. So, you know, maybe it was a thing where he couldn't get off of work on Monday, or, you know, because you have to put in your vacation time, you know, earlier in the year and that sort of thing. So, but I know the Dirt Kings, they always had a rule where you could throw out one or two shows. I'm assuming that's still the same. So just because he missed the show doesn't mean he can't repeat.
Yeah, that's interesting. I saw that, and I'm like, that was one of the guys I was looking forward to going to watch. So as it turns out, I'm like kind of glad I didn't go because the guy I wanted to go watch wasn't even there. And then the guy, you said it was Reed that got third. Is that correct?
Yeah, Justin Reed.
And right before the races, you said, hey, here's my dark horse. You said that was your dark horse guy. And so the guy you talked about, Justin Ritchie, he got second. Your dark horse guy got third. I think you might know a thing or two about these guys.
Yeah, I mean, I follow these guys like you guys follow the Western Wisconsin and Minnesota drivers. So yeah, I kind of know. I've seen Justin Reed come close to winning a race at 141 Speedway, and I know Wilmot's a smaller track like 141 is. So I just had a feeling.
Right. Now,
all right, Ryan. Why don't you give us a quick recap of the Woo Lates? We're running a little late on the segment here.
Yeah, the World of Outlaw late models. We'll touch on that. I mean, we've been talking about Bloomquist, right? Is he ever going to do anything again? He goes down to his home turf. He gets the home turf, gets a fourth, gets a fifth, couple top fives for Bloomquist at home. He didn't look like the car to beat, but at least he was racy. At least he was competitive. So that was good to see. They got heavy rain on day one. They started late. It was really hammered down. And guess what? Overton broke leading again, right? How many times are you going to break leading? That guy's been absolutely on fire, had a shot to win. Well, then, mod guy, right? Like my mod guy, Strickler got the lead. Power moved to the outside. Looked like he was going to dominate the race. Left front tire goes down. So then, because he's used to throwing it in there, plus it was heavy, which allowed him to do it, he maintained the lead lap after lap after lap. And I'm like, holy crap, he's going to hang on to this deal and win. Well, he hooked the rut. Mud got underneath there, wrecked the radiator, knocked the radiator out of the race. He goes, and Bishop makes it 3 in a row. On day two, a guy that ran pretty well down in the Extreme Series, I think even won one of them, Zach Mitchell, first-time winner in the World of Outlaws. So pretty neat deal seeing a guy win, their first time in the World of Outlaws. Puka, you and I bantered about this. I'm like, not that huge of a deal because he kind of runs open late models anyway. He's raced against some of these guys. But let's face it, I mean, when you're in the National Series, whether it's World of Outlaw or Lucas, and you get your first win, it is a big deal. So hats off to Zach. And, did you guys get a chance to watch either one of those two races?
Yeah, I watched them both. And like I said, heavy track. Like the track, there's another crowd. Like I said, I think they were standing. If anyone goes back and watches, I think that the crowd was on their feet for both features, both nights, stood the whole time. And, like I said, I think it's a big deal. Bert, you did a little bit of homework on Zach Mitchell. Can you tell us a little bit more about him?
Actually, I mean, I did a Google search for him, and there's not much you can find about him on Google. I know he's from South Carolina, and he's around 24 years old. But, yeah, I did watch the race that he won, and there was multiple – there's many times when a local driver, a regional driver will start on the front row in a national event, and they'll lead, early portion of the race, but then they'll fade, and he just did not fade. And it's not like he wasn't challenged. I mean, there was multiple grooves, and they had to battle traffic for most of the race because that's a unique track there, very banked. And so, it wasn't a gimme, and, I mean, he definitely earned it. I mean, you can start up front, but you still have to stay up front.
Yeah, absolutely. And then do you have anything to touch on that, Puka? I know you watched that race as well.
Well, yeah, no, I guess one final note on that one was a guy since Jackson that's name has kind of come up as one guy that's running for the Rookie of the Year is that Ashton Winger. And he doesn't have a win, but he's got some top five. I think he placed the 5th or 4th on the first night, but his name is starting, the announcer, here comes Ashton Winger. So there's a guy to kind of keep an eye on for the future. A young guy, another guy I don't know much about. I know we reported on back in like December or January that he was running for Rookie of the Year, and he's starting to, it seems like, to make a little bit of progress.
Yeah, that's fun to see. I mean, let's face it, some of these guys start at the beginning of the year, and this is a tough group of cars. So they're going to have to kind of take their lumps, right? I mean, some of these guys that are winning races have been doing this for a long time, so that will be fun to watch. Ricky Weiss had a rough week. I think he got like 10th and 13th. I think he got into it with somebody on the second day. So the points there, Bishop leading again, but Ricky Weiss is in second. So that's going to be an interesting battle moving forward. Now the Woo Sprints, you know, I'm going to give a shout out to my buddy Keith. I feel like I do this every week because he's a sprint car guy. He just keeps bragging on the sprint cars. But let's face it was some pretty exciting stuff. They were at Tri-State down in Hopstad, Indiana. Now, I've been there. I've actually been to that track, kind of a neat little place. And the requirement for the World of Outlaw sprint cars is your name had to be Carson. Because the first day, Carson Short, first-timer, lives about an hour and a half away, Illinois guy, Tri-State's kind of been his home track, shocked the world. I mean, he got his first World of Outlaw win in his 11th start. And what's neat about that is the World of Outlaw sprint cars, guys, hasn't had a first-time winner in over a year. It's been that long. So it's been very dominant by the people that are running the series. So hats off to him. And the second day, there was a great finish at the end. Carson Macedo side by side with Sweet right at the end. They battled. They kind of swapped the lead. Now Carson Macedo, I don't know if you guys know this, he drives for Kyle Larson. So Kyle Larson absolutely dominated the midget week. I think he's got like 9 wins or 8 or 9 wins over the last couple of weeks. He's been crazy good. But this Carson Macedo knocked off Sweet. So a couple of guys that I didn't expect to see win, they got her done. And the points in the World of Outlaws right now is Brad Sweet first, Donnie Schatz second. Weird, right? Kind of the cream always rises to the top. So great racing action there. Did you get a chance to watch any of the highlights or anything from the World of Outlaws?
Yeah, that was, like I said, this Carson Short, I want to do a little bit of work on him because, like I said, Ryan, it's a big deal. I mean, they say maybe once a year. I mean, these guys pulling the town, they got every tire compound known to man, and you're a sitting duck as a local guy. And I remember when I lived out in Billings, Montana, they had 2-day shows out there, I think 04, 05, 06. And, the local guys, they just went right to the back. There was just didn't stand a chance. But so I did kind of like Bert did with Zach Mitchell. This Carson Short looks like he's about 24 years old. He's from Marion, Illinois. He does race some USAC stuff too. And the ironic thing is his first USAC win was also at Tri-State Speedway. So just, another guy, like I said, I guess to keep an eye on moving forward here. All right. Is that kind of it for the recap on the week?
Yeah. I think, some people are red hot right now. Some people not so much. I mean, talk about some of the guys. I kind of made a list of some people that are who's hot, who's not. But, who comes to mind for you guys? Who's red hot, in your eyes right now?
Go ahead, Bert. Yeah, it's kind of the first day of summer here. And, so obviously spring is behind us. So we thought we'd kind of just, take a pause here and kind of look and say, all right, we are, even in this crazy COVID era or time, we do have some racing behind us here. So we're going to take a little time on who's hot and who's not. Go ahead, Bert. You start us off.
Are we talking nationally or locally or both?
Whatever.
Whatever comes to mind.
As we stated before, Jimmy Owens, obviously. One thing I was going to mention before, but I didn't, T-Mac is having a really good season this year. And you got to remember, he's racing for a new team this year, new car owner. So for him to come out the way he has to start this season has been really impressive in my eyes.
Yeah, one guy I've got who's hot and kind of locally is Scott Ward. I see one last night at Casino. So he's put together a couple of wins over the last couple of weeks. And on the not side, here's a guy that normally has some wins by this time, AJ Demo. He did have a big heat race win there the night I was at the Masters. But, he's, as far as I know, he's been out of victory lane. And the aforementioned Donnie Schatz, he is second in points, but I think he has 1 win only with the 2. Okay.
I think he's 2.
So he – it's Donnie Schatz. We're comparing Donnie Schatz to Donnie Schatz. He should probably have 5 wins by now. Another guy that usually has a bag full of wins by now is a 71A of Ryan Aho. I just haven't seen him on the win list.
I don't know about all that. I don't know about he's all old and washed up. And one thing about the World of Outlaw sprint cars, guys, the car counts at a lot of these shows has been really good. So that's impressive. We've been having a lot of shows in the 40s and higher. So, it's been pretty exciting to watch some of those races. Now, you mentioned Scott Ward in late models. We did our power rankings last week. We didn't even mention this guy, right? But he won 4 of the last 5.
Oh, is it? Okay.
So he's got 4 of the last 5, including 2 of them this week, one at the Brown County Speedway and one at the Casino Speedway, both out in South Dakota. And so he's been absolutely red hot in the late models. Becker has a pile of seconds. So them two are both running very good. The hottest guy right now in Wasota racing in the area by far, Shane Sabraski. 7 of his last 10. Just incredible. He's got, like, literally he won the last 3 in the mod and the last couple in the super at Gondik. I think he's just got a pile of wins up there. Absolutely lights out. I watched him at Ogilvy on Saturday, and in the mod, he just drove away. Jody Belfi tried to make a run on a restart. Sabraski just put it in high gear and just drove away. So smooth. Super stocks. He dumped the guy. He dumped the 44 car right on the initial start, got himself put to the back. He goes, yep, I done fucked up on that one, is what he said. So he literally did. But guys, he got put to the back, and he was 3 wide for the win coming for the flag from dead last. So had there been a restart, if you had maybe been shuffled to the outside on a restart instead of the inside, he might have won that race from last. So absolutely dominant right now. Virtually unbeatable up at the Gondik Law Speedway in Superior. And there's good cars up there. In the supers, everybody's been up there. Kurt Meyer's been there. Burdick's been there. Moss has been there. They've all been there. Timmy Johnson was up there. In the mods, you got Ebert, you got Esty, you got Nelson, you got Belfi. Sabraski just dominant. Speaking of Daryl Nelson, he wrecked his late model guys at the Masters pretty hard, but that modified's been pretty darn good, and he doubled up at Cedar Lake this past weekend, winning both features. They had makeup features in the mod. Coming off of that deal, he's pretty stout, especially at Superior. With the border battle coming up in Superior, maybe he could be the guy to knock off Sabraski. Who's not really quick there? I got 3 people on the top of my mind. Number 1, John Cantor, the sheriff. Probably one of my favorite Wasota late model guys, Mr. Smooth. 11 starts, guys. He's got 1 top 5. 1 top 5 in 11 starts. And that night he got 3rd. He led. He started up front. He led till the end. And basically, in the last lap or 2, slipped from 1st to 3rd. He's a step behind. I'm not sure what's missing there. Super stocks. Okay, now I don't know if you call this not hot, but Kevin Burdick. He's got 8 races. He's got only 1 win. Why? Because Sabraski's kicking his ass. Period, right? And he hasn't finished out of the top 5 yet, but we're talking about a guy last year that won over 30 features, and he just looks off. He's good, but he's not dominant. So I'm looking for Kevin Burdick to step it up. And, who did I pick to win the mod championship? Johnny Broking. Johnny, I know you listen to the show, right? I'm calling you out, man. I watched Gondik Law Speedway a little bit. Heat race, not their fault. They're just having some bad luck. They're trying some stuff, but just struggling. I think the best finish Johnny's got all year so far is 3rd. He's got 3 fifths and 7. They've only raced at Superior, but Friday, I don't remember who it was, but I think it was Jeremy Nelson, spun out in front of him. Johnny kind of got on the brakes to miss him. Bob had nowhere to go. So father and son getting a wreck together. Johnny goes off. Johnny came from the back, though, up to around 5th or 6th or something. He ran pretty good in the feature. Bob scattered an engine. So Broking Motorsports is just, they got to be pretty thankful that there's no national points. Speaking of that, I'm thinking Shane Sabraski really wishes there was national points right now. And them guys are probably pretty happy they're not. So that's my who's not. We're going to update the power rankings online. Couple things. Obviously, Scott Ward in the mix. There's Travis Budislavich with a couple wins. Jeffrey Massengill hasn't won anything, but ran very well at Cedar. Another top 5. So things are going to shake up there. So back to you, Puka.
All right. Well, yeah, that's kind of the week that was. And let's kind of look ahead to this week. And there was a lot of racing going on. And one big announcement that we got this week is that the Hell Tour schedule is out. And we're going to touch more on that later on. But Ryan, as they get closer to race date, but Ryan, I know you had a quick comment on that.
Yeah, it's just interesting. The Hell Tour come out, but obviously it had to get moved back. And now you move it back, and now you're doubling up. You're on top of some big marquee events. And the one that comes to mind, and there's several of them, we'll talk about that as it gets closer, but the USA Nationals, right? So you see people like Brian Shirley. You see people like Bobby Pierce. You see some of them guys. Are they going to Cedar Lake? Are they going to these the big crown jewels, or are they going to go to the Hell Tour? That's going to be very interesting moving forward to see how the car counts work out there. So that's going to be something that we have to watch and see as we get a little bit closer to them dates.
Bert, what are you previewing or kind of looking forward to this week?
Well, this week on Friday, be Russ Scheffler tribute night at Plymouth Dirt Track by Sheboygan, Wisconsin. This is a unique event in the fact that two fans, basically 3 years ago, they talked to the Russ Scheffler family because the Scheffler family had done memorial races for George Scheffler, and then when Russ passed away, it was for George and Russ. But they decided that that 4 years ago that was going to be the last race that they were going to do as a memorial race. So these two fans got permission from the Scheffler family and got approval, and they go out and get the sponsorship money, the extra money that's on the line. This year, it's going to pay $2,374 to win, and down to seventh place will be at least $1,000, and it's $325 to start. So, I mean, that's a pretty good payout for basically just a regular show for the track, thanks to these two fans, Chad Marquardt and Greg Wester. And so I think that's pretty unique. That's on Friday night, so that's the big late model event on this side of the state.
Are you going to head to that?
I'm not sure yet. I'd like to go, but I'm not sure.
Go ahead, Ryan. What do you got on the docket? No, you go ahead.
All right. So there's a couple big shows happening in the National Series, couple local ones. On the National Series, World of Outlaw late models making their annual Firecracker 100 trip over to Lernerville. Excited about that. Didn't Brady Smith win that race? Didn't he win at Lernerville in the World of Outlaws a few years back?
I know Mars did. That was one of the controversies when Mars and Bloomquist kind of became rivals, as Bloomquist said he's treating tires or he has illegal tires or something like that. That's probably 12 or 13.
Okay.
Somewhere in that.
Like Brady ran really good over there. Maybe he didn't win, but I thought Brady either won or got second. Maybe it wasn't that race, but at Lernerville. Lucas Oil, they're racing at the 411 on Friday down in Tennessee, and then they're racing at the Talladega Short Track. So that Talladega's had a little bit of drama here this week, right? I mean, they had the NASCAR race there. They banned the Confederate flag. Going to stay out of the politics, but they had a little drama with a plane flying above, carrying the Confederate flag, saying defund NASCAR. So now you're getting into the heart of Alabama to the dirt track race, right? There's a lot of controversy. Guys, I've been to that track, okay? Want to talk about a bunch of hillbillies? Oh, my God. Okay? The first rule I remember when I went to the Talladega Short Track was no drinking in the grandstands. I'm like, what? If you want to drink, you got to go in the pits. I'm like, what are you talking about? They drink in the pits during the races, but not in the grandstands. If they did that in Hibbing, Puka, there'd be a fist fight like every single night, right? Every night. Like literally, I mean, just the tardies alone would be in a fist fight if there was drinking in the pits. John and Jeff would kill each other.
And that'd be before the races. They wouldn't even start, you know. And if they had Iron Rangers drinking in the pits, they'd just park a beer truck there for the weekend.
Yeah, I thought that was crazy. So cool little track, right? They have the ice bowl there every year. So the Lucas Oil guys are racing there. Woo Sprint's coming to Minnesota. They got the big event at Jackson. But a couple local things happening. My buddy up in Devil's Lake, they got the Golden Hammer Late Model Invitational. It's the first NLRA event away from the River City Speedway for the 2020 season. 2,000 to win. So that should be a really good event. I'm kind of wondering with 2,000 to win on the line, I don't know what else is going on. If maybe some of the Minnesota, Wisconsin guys will make the trek up there, because I know they'll get a good group of cars from Grand Forks in the area. But for 2,000 to win and not a lot else happening, you know, I'd like to see what happens there, because Superior. Now this is
well. Let me talk about that real quick, Ryan. Let me talk about that, because the one thing that I saw on Friday that's going on is it just came out as the prelude to the Rumble out in Aberdeen, and they kind of put a little thing on Facebook and they said, look, we know we're not paying a lot, and they're actually charging them $100 to race, but they said, you know, we've got the Rumble coming on the 10th and 11th of July, so we want to give our fans an idea of who might show up, and they were kind of asking late model drivers, you know, please come and support this event. So now I didn't even know that Devil's Lake was going on. I thought maybe some guys would maybe go down there, but now we're going to have a little bit of a push and pull.
Yeah, well, kind of what happened is it was going to be Aberdeen, and then it was going to be Watertown. It was supposed to be they were going to have a couple Challenge Series shows, but of course they canceled the Challenge Series. We'll talk about that, but that was going to be Challenge Series, but they still wanted to have late model specials. Now, Superior, Gondik Law Speedway. Puka looks like he froze up a little bit there. Freeze frame, right? So
I'm here.
up at the Gondik Law Speedway in Superior, they're running Friday and Sunday, okay? Now, Friday, they got like winged and non-winged sprints, mods, supers, pures. Sunday, they have late models. They got Renegade sprints, Midwest mods, pures. Now, guys, here's the deal. So they're running Friday, Sunday, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They're running 5 races in 10 nights. I mean, I don't know what the hell they're thinking. I got to be honest. I hope it goes good. I really do. But, I mean, fans are eventually going to get burnt out. And the way I look at it, if I was a fan, you know, am I going to go to them couple races and then all of a sudden say, well, hey, I just went to Superior twice. I'll go down to Cedar Lake or I'll go down to Mississippi Thunder. Is that many shows going to hurt the border battle, especially considering the U.S.-Canadian border's closed, so you can't even get people to come down. That's about a quarter of the crowd at Superior. So interesting to see what's going to happen in Superior. I know that's going to be on Dirt Race Central, so I'll watch it. I'll watch them shows. But man, sometimes less is more, right? This whole too many shows on top of each other at the same track. I think they're making a mistake. What do you guys think? As fans, what's your take on that?
Well, that's a lot. I mean, go ahead, Bert.
No, I was just going to say that that is a lot. And I mean, especially this year, you know, some fans may still be out of work because of the COVID. And, you know, it's a lot to ask of fans to show up that many nights in a short amount of time with a limited budget. I mean, even in a good year.
Yeah, and the thing to remember is this is not, you know, a normal night. So the entry fees are up, not down. So yeah, I guess we'll see. You know, we're gonna learn a lot here in the next, what'd you say, 10 days?
Yeah, they're gonna race Friday.
Is that it for the previews, guys?
What's that?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I feel like Puka's kind of froze up there, Bert. So yeah,
he did.
Yeah, 5 nights and 10 days they're running. They're running Friday, Saturday, or Friday, Sunday, and then they're going to run Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So quite the interesting deal. I guess we'll have to see what happens. But is there any other races? I mean, Puka, what are you thinking? What are you looking forward to this weekend?
Well, like I said, the big one was that Rumble was kind of the announcement. Like I said, you know, the Gondik stuff's local for me. Quite frankly, I think I'm going to be hitting an enduro on Saturday night. It's kind of my plan right now.
Oh, he's leaving the late models for enduros.
That's the one the kids love. There's action all over the track. So, all right, guys. Well, let's move on to the last segment here. We are, like I said, on to the last lap. So we have one to go. So like we just mentioned a little bit, Bert, we'll start you off on this one. Challenge Series canceled. Thoughts there?
Yeah, the Wissota Late Model Challenge Series has been canceled. I was reading over the press release, and basically there's just too many tracks that aren't running right now that were on the schedule, and they felt like running a shorter season with less tracks wasn't in the spirit of the series. And so one thing I found interesting from the press release was that they hinted towards a complete restructuring of the series, which would give the series the potential to be at more tracks and some for the first time. So, I mean, if there's a good thing to come out of this COVID summer is maybe it's forcing promoters to rethink things, and rather than doing the same old thing just because it's always been done that way. So, I mean, hopefully the series can come back bigger and better in 2021.
Well, Ryan, not every series has been canceled. The Street Stock Series is still a full bore ahead.
Yeah, the Stefan Street Stock Series, guys, they got 5 nights in already. I thought they were running Sunday, but it turns out they got 5 nights in. We got 2 doubled up on wins this year. Johnny Carter won his 2nd of the year. He won Saturday night up at the Devil's Lake Speedway, and he's your 2019 Wissota Street Stock National Champ, and actually currently leading the Steffa Street Stock Tour point standings. He's running very good. But a guy that is really, really running good is, I believe, second in points in that deal right now is Eric Riley. Up in Grand Forks, he started 12th. He won from 12th for his second win of the year. He has been absolutely bolted. I heard the track up in Grand Forks for the street stock race was amazing. I talked to Justin Vogel. Vogel's been struggling. He hurt a motor, so he's got his backup motor in, not quite running well, but they have some throwaway shows, so he said he's looking forward to getting his motor back. But, man, that's been some good racing out there. Very good car counts. That's been very well followed by the street stock guys. So Johnny Carter looking to continue his hot streak from 2019 right into 2020.
Bert, update on the Shawano Hall of Fame.
Yep, Shawano Speedway has their Hall of Fame this weekend. 2 drivers will be inducted. One is an old-time driver. Last name is Moss. And the other driver is Mark Mitchell, who was a friend of mine. Unfortunately, he passed away about 3 years ago of pancreatic cancer. But he will be inducted into a Hall of Fame. He's a track champion at Shawano in the hobby stock division. Won numerous features in the hobby stock division. Moved up the late models. Has one feature win in his career in a late model. Here's one of his diecasts from early in his late model career. So actually, I got some lap sponsor money. So the IMSA stock car feature and the late model feature will have lap leader money for each lap. Actually, in the stock car feature, the leader of lap 15 will get $150. So I imagine people are going to be scrambling to be leading that lap. So, yeah, Plymouth doesn't race that night because they're racing Friday night instead for the Scheffler Tribute night. So hopefully some Plymouth late models will come to Shawano. If there's any Western Wisconsin late models that want to race for some lap money, come on over and come earlier on Friday and race in the Scheffler race.
All right, nice work, Bert. Congrats and have fun. That should be fun for you.
Yeah, good job with that. And I think you're right. It'd be really cool to see some of them guys head on over there because there's some really good money on the line, like you said, at the Scheffler race. And then you start adding in all that lap money. The only race I've ever raced, guys, that had lap money was the Silver 1000. They always added lap money in for that. And I led, I think, 20-some laps in the feature that I won when I won the Silver. And that was a nice little boost. So good job to that. The drivers absolutely appreciate it for sure.
Yeah, the cheapest is $25 a lap. Some are $57 because that was Mark's number. Lap 15 is $75, and the final lap is $100. So it's, I believe, like $689 in lap money for the late models, and it's $821 for the hobby stock or the stock cars. So
nice.
Awesome. Well, we finally got some good news up north here, Ryan, where I am and where you are from. So why don't you kind of update us on that?
Well, we have some good news and we have some bad news. Okay. So the good news is the Grand Rapids Speedway got approval to start their season. Opening night is going to be July 9th. Okay. The bad news is you're not going to an enduro on Saturday because we had to cancel the enduro at the Grand Rapids Speedway, hit some other obstacles that they had to deal with. So no practice this week, no enduro. They're going to roll in. Everything's going to start after the 4th. We got official approval there. Also at Grand Rapids, bad news. It stings because I put a lot into this. The World of Outlaw show at the Grand Rapids Speedway is canceled for the 2020 season, and we're going to look at getting a date for 2021. At the end of the day, even if we could make it work financially, we wanted that to be an impact on the city. We wanted that to be great for the people that come to the track. And if we're limited on crowd, we just can't do it the way we want to do it. Hibbing, they have a city council meeting in Hibbing on Wednesday night. Now, they actually are working with the city council members. They've talked. They feel like there's a pretty darn good chance that they're going to open up this coming Saturday already. Interesting to me that they're going to find out Wednesday night and say, hey, by the way, in a couple days we're racing. Seems kind of like quick, but, they said, hey, by this time people's cars should be ready to go. So at the end of the day, they feel like they can jump that quickly if they have to. And that's going to lead me into, and I'll let you guys touch on this. About a month ago or a few weeks ago, Ashland said, hey, you guys aren't racing. Let's have a late model show up at the ABC Raceway in Ashland. Okay. So they kind of assumed that Hibbing just wasn't going to be able to open. Now, Hibbing looks like they're probably going to open. And now what happens, right? Because where are them late model guys going to go? Are they going to go to Ashland? Are they going to come up to Hibbing? What are they going to do? Cedar Lake's got a dash deal, so all the guys from down in that area are going to be at Cedar Lake. So with that said, one of them is going to have to cancel late models, and I don't know exactly how that's going to work. I'm out of the loop on that deal, but from what I understand, if Hibbing does open, Ashland may have to cancel the late models. There might be a mileage deal, so that's interesting. And I talked to Jimmy Mars and Red Cedar Speedway. I'm not sure if we talked about this or not. They have officially canceled their World of Outlaw race. I talked to Nate at Ogilvy. I talked to Brad Sang. He kind of knows what's going on up at Grand Forks. Talk to them about, what's going on. Talk to Joe Staria. I think we're going to hear a lot in the next week on if the rest of that series is going to go on or if it's going to cancel. But kind of a frustrating deal because having the World of Outlaws come through was going to be great. But 2020, it is what it is. We're all looking forward for the year to be done.
Yeah, that's a tough deal. It's tough for the drivers. They come up, Pennsylvania. I mean, Bloomquist come from Tennessee. Madden come from South Carolina. And originally planned on 5 nights. You're going to race 1 or 2 or 3. It'd be kind of tough on them. So it'd be interesting to see what happens there. So,
well, and I just wanted to add, you brought up Red Cedar Speedway. I mean, they got some bad news recently that they're not going to be allowed to open up. And, I mean, they're hoping that maybe at their next, county meeting. But, I mean, you're looking into July at that point. And, I mean, if I remember correctly, I read an article, though, that the future of the Speedway where it is was in doubt. So maybe this is more political than just the COVID. I don't know. That's just my speculation.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been going to the Red Cedar Speedway for years. I remember I was a little kid going there, and that was, 38 years ago, 37 years ago, I remember. And they're kind of by a hospital. They're in town, and basically for as long as I can remember, there's been like controversy in town. They got curfews, all that craziness going on. And keep in mind, their season typically ends in the middle of August. They don't even race up till Labor Day weekend. So they don't, like you said, they don't have another meeting with the Dunn County Fair Board or whatever they're dealing with there. 29 people on that fair board or that are making that vote. Absolutely crazy. That's way too many chickens in the hen house, right? Absolutely nuts. But the fact is, if they aren't able to even make a decision till the end of July, is it worth even opening for a couple weeks? Or are they going to just maybe have one regular show and then have the punky? It'll be interesting to happen to see what happens down there at the Red Cedar Speedway, because there's a lot of history. There's some great race car drivers that come out of there, and I'm actually just torn up for them guys because I know they had some good things going for them.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to try and do everything they can to get the punky in at least. So, all right, just a final note for you race fans: the Fans Fund down at Cedar Lake, which is where fans can donate money, and there's a little vote and to bring in drivers. We'll kind of get more into details as that gets closer. We'll kind of go through the list, but the voting has started. I guess they've got like $6,000 bucks in the pot. I talked to Tommy Emerson, who's used to run it. He's not running it anymore, but I talked to him at the Masters. He said, we get a lot of sponsors for this deal. I mean, they'd raise up to like 20 grand. He said, the sponsors are just non-committal this year. So it's gonna be interesting to kind of see what happens with the Fans Fund. But if you are interested, if you're planning on going to the USA Nationals, you want to throw them in, it's kind of a neat deal. You throw like 30, 40 bucks. I can't remember exactly. Bert, you've been to it. The drivers come in, they sign autographs. It's in the building in the back. You get a free lunch. The drivers come in, give a little speech. They give away a bunch of stuff. They give away door panels. They give away shirts, all kinds of stuff. So it's kind of a unique event. And even the drivers will tell you this is like, there's many drivers that have said, they're like, gosh, if it wasn't for the fans, there's no way we could be up here. Jason Fager, Bert, he's kind of got that thing down. But like I said, we'll get more into detail on this as we get closer. But like I said, if you want to get into the Fans Fund, just go to fansfund.com, I believe it is, and you can kind of do all the details and get on PayPal and get your donation in. So, all right, fellas, well, I think that's pretty much a wrap. We're in here. Is that anything else?
Yeah, speaking of Cedar Lake, there's one thing I want to touch on. We'll talk more about this next week. But obviously they had that 4th of July weekend, right? The Independence Special or whatever they have it called with the World of Outlaws. They threw that in. Well, the border battle up at Superior, the FYE show, they actually canceled. They canceled the late model portion of that. So they said, you know what? It used to be a mod show anyway. We're going to drop the late models, give them a chance to go to Cedar or Mississippi Thunder. Now, in my mind, right, I'm thinking, okay, Mississippi Thunder, $5,000 to win, 500 to start at the River City Rumble. If I was a Wasota engine type guy, I would definitely go there because I have a chance to win. I'm thinking I'll race there Friday or Thursday. I'll race there Friday. Boom, I'll head up to Cedar Lake Saturday and race at Cedar Lake, right? Well, I talked to Casey with the World of Outlaws. Thursday, they're doing the same stupid thing they do down at Charlotte, and they are actually going to, all Thursday's show is, okay? And this is nothing to do with Cedar Lake. So I'm not dogging Cedar Lake because they don't get to make this decision. This comes from World Racing Group. They're the ones who make this decision, and clearly they don't care about racing. I don't know what the hell their deal is. Like, I'm a little frustrated with them. Thursday, they're going to run 2 rounds of time trials, okay, for each class, lates and sprints, and then they're going to take the top 18 or 20 and just have a 20-lap dash for $3,000 to win on Thursday night. That's the whole show. $29 to get in, guys, to watch freaking time trials and 2 20-lap dashes. Are you kidding me? Like, I was going to think about going to that. I was talking to several of my buddies. We're like, hey, we're going to make the trip down. We're going to go watch on Thursday. What a waste of freaking time. There is no reason for anybody to even go to the Cedar Lake Speedway for that Thursday show. It's a joke, right? Friday, Saturday. Now, here's what's worse. This literally just drives me insane. The time trials that they're doing on Thursday is for Friday's show and for Saturday's show. So what does that mean? Think about this. What does that mean? That means that if you're one of the cars that was going to race Mississippi Thunder on Thursday and Friday, thinking maybe you're going to go up there on Saturday, you don't even get to qualify. So you're either going to have to start, and they haven't announced what they're going to do here, but you're either going to have to start in the back of a heat, or they might even make you tag onto the back of an LCQ, right? So why the hell would any late model guy go up there on Saturday? There'd be no reason. I talked about with the Masters, there'd be no reason for anybody to just hop in on Saturday. Well, now there's definitely no reason for somebody to just hop in on Saturday. So absolutely, I just shake my head at that deal. I don't know what the heck they're thinking. And Casey actually voiced his opinion. He tried working something in with Mississippi Thunder to do the World of Outlaw race at Mississippi Thunder Thursday, and then go Friday, Saturday. World Racing Group wanted nothing to do with it. He said, guys, we're going to struggle to get late models. It's going to be a great sprint car show, but, man, we'll talk about this more next week, but I'll be surprised to get 20 late models at that show at Cedar Lake. It's going to be – I'm not impressed.
Bert, any final comments on that?
No, I mean, Brian summed it up pretty well there.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you again for joining us. Like I said, check us out on TikTok. Check us out on YouTube. Of course, many of you are catching us here on the Facebook page. If you're a podcaster, like I said, you can check us out at all those other outlets if you actually like to see some of the video footage that Ryan does a great job of putting together. Like I said, first day of summer, longest day of the year. Get out there. And I can't think of a better day to get out there and be your dream. You're tuned to the One to Go show.